Christopher Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 123. We're just a real quick kind of drive-by. Recorded live Monday, March 3rd, 2025, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, hey, I'm Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief over here at iTechGear.org. Joining us today, we've got the dulcet tones. You know they're here. The former contributing editor over at Gear Diary and Pocket Now, and of course, editor here at iTechGear.org. We got Mr. Chris Gavula in the house. Say hey.
Hey. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey.
How are you this week, sir? How are you?
just ducky.
I hear you. Yeah, me too. We're getting through our new week. We're on a work week. We're on a work night this week, so it's a little different,
it is
different for us, but we're here. We are. We want to be here for our listeners. So here we are.
And we are.
So good for us.
Yay. All right. Also joining us, the former contributing writer from Gear Diary and currently the host of the Linux Sling Tech Show and living in the Retro Arcade podcast, and of course, editor here at iTechGear.org, Brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
I am doing fan-freaking-tastic. I only have to work 3 more days this week, which makes me just happy.
I am so jealous.
There we go.
Well, you can take a Friday off, too. Nobody's stopping you.
I'm taking off in a week or so we're good.
Yeah.
A week or two.
Yeah.
So we're good.
Yep. Unfortunately, folks, the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications, Mr. Larry McJunkin, couldn't make it this week. This weekend was the birthdays for my oldest daughter and our oldest boy. They are exactly 10 years, 364 days apart. So we did the birthday thing this weekend for them, and so we're recording on a Monday night as opposed to our regular Sunday. So,
and Mr. Larry McJunkin will be back.
He will be back.
He will
be back, but not tonight.
Not tonight.
Unfortunately, and it's just kind of the way that it goes this time around. But you know what else is kind of cool?
What's that?
Well, Timmy's been teasing a new MacBook Air this week, which is really kind of nice. So, Joel, what's going on with this?
Supposedly, there was a not so subtle hint that Apple announced the new MacBook Air based on the M4 chip series available in the same 13 and 15-inch designs as the current model, which basically means this is your speed bump. This is the talk of the tick. Several notable upgrades.
Right. So we're
24 gig of RAM is where the Air maxes out, but the new M4 will raise that ceiling to 32 gig, which is smart.
Hopefully,
yeah.
Hopefully it will, because
and a 12 megapixel center stage camera.
Well, that is actually cool.
That's a better camera would be nice. I agree.
Right. So
other than that, it's probably the same as everything else as the MacBook Air has been. So it probably won't be a super announcement like some of the new products are.
I'm on an M1 Air, so this may be the year I choose to finally update.
Right. And I have my work one's a M1 Pro, but I've currently got a PC for my current personal machine. But I'm looking at possibly.
You mean the one you were cussing at earlier today?
Yeah, that one. The one that has a bad control button on it right now.
Yes, but with all the Christian love that he has, so
yes,
But the other cool thing that's going to be happening with the M4 chip and the new MacBook Air is that it apparently is supposed to bring additional and broader external display support. While the M3 MacBook Air can power 2 external displays at once, but only
with the lid closed.
Only with the lid closed. This one will allow you to have it with the lid open as well. So you get 2. So you can get up to 3 displays, basically 2 external and the internal.
And that's fine by me. I mean, I wouldn't very often use a second display on my personal machine. on my work machine, it's an absolute imperative. But my personal machine, no. Although it would be nice, like if I'm working on a video edit and I want to see it like a video on a bigger screen or something, because these things are capable of doing that. You don't have to have
they are. I will tell you though, I've got at least 2, if not 3 displays on that I like to work with every machine that I'm on. I like to have one in the middle that's got all the pertinent stuff that I'm working on too. I like to have my email on a dedicated screen to the left, and I'll have other applications or whatever, and usually meetings and email in the middle. And it's easy for me to swap back and forth and do whatever it is that I need to do. I don't understand. We were talking about this a little bit during the pre-show.
We were,
and it really bothers me that the MacBook Air has this kind of limitation where it really doesn't need to have that limitation. I'm not sure if it's a motherboard thing or if it's a
I don't know.
driver
It's
thing.
interesting, but it's interesting you say that because I have a Mac. I have the M1 MacBook Air, so I have the real severe limitations, right? The only one external monitor. But here's the thing: that monitor can be pretty much any resolution. I'm running an ultra wide, 5160 by whatever kind of crazy, basically double wide monitor. And
we always knew you was going to be in a double wide.
But I can run that as well as my internal laptop screen at the same time. So effectively, I get the space that you would get for 3 screens today. I already get it.
Sure, and I get that, and I'm fine with that too. So one of the things
I just don't know.
My middle screen is a 34-inch curved, right, widescreen monitor, and it's like 2 17-inch monitors.
Mine's the 49 curved. So I get you.
Yeah. So I like being able to go ahead and I can break it up a couple of different ways, which is kind of nice. But
the point is, it always could support that kind of resolution. So I'm not quite sure, what I can understand the physical port limitation because they didn't have the ports to support it, but I'm not quite sure why, I'm not quite sure what the challenge was. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't a resolution issue. It was never a resolution issue, I guess is what I'm getting at.
No, it never was. And I don't understand why.
Yeah, me neither.
If somebody knows why Apple put that limitation, please
product differentiation
at iTechGear.org. Let us know.
That might have been product differentiation. I don't know, but it was kind of like, oh, all right, whatever.
If it's just simple product differentiation, that's stupid. Because they stuck in a limitation. Yeah. They stuck in a limitation that
totally agree with you. And I think that Joel, you said something very similar earlier as well. In the pre-show.
It just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's an arbitrary thing, Yeah. It doesn't need to happen. I get it. But
and again, if I couldn't support the wider screen, then I would say, okay, there's some sort of RAM limitation or video limitation. I understand that, but because I can support the wider screen with the M1, I'm kind of like, okay, what's the problem here? It's arbitrary.
And the way that the M series chip uses RAM, it's different. All right,
I know.
It's different than what we're used to as far as an Intel chip is concerned, in the way that monitor or video memory was consumed on the Intel side. So there's no reason.
We're happy to see this device. We're happy to see it coming.
Yeah,
and all the potential improvements. Yeah, it's not an exciting upgrade, but it's a needed one if they go with everything we think they're going with. So it's good.
The power of the M4 chip, right?
Yeah,
is just amazing. All right.
I've got it in the iPad, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's great. So I'm looking forward to this. So this may be the year, kids. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yep, I've got an M1 Max chip in my MacBook Pro.
Gotcha.
And while I would say it's probably equivalent to like an M2 chip or somewhere in that neighborhood, even then, the M4, the base M4 is so vastly far and above what the M1 Max can do. It's an amazing thing. And we were talking one or two shows back. We were also talking about the M5 coming out sometime this year.
Yeah. We were.
And that's holy smokes. I think I originally had said when I had gotten my M1 Max that it would probably last me about 10 years, so till like 2031, because I got it in 21. But long story short, the questions that you have to ask yourself is, even though it's an M series chip, and even though it's way powerful, and it's got a heck of a lot more that I'm likely to really really need, the apps that are coming out or being updated are going to be for the newer processors. So what are you leaving behind? What are you not going to be able to do?
Absolutely true.
So
no, we should see this.
We'll have to wait and see. Just as Apple will have to wait and see as to whether or not it's going to be hit with an antitrust fine in France.
Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, again.
Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Ayúdame, por favor. Help me out.
Well, apparently, again, like you pretty much summed it up right at the beginning. France has been investigating for what, a year and a half, something like that now.
July,
and they're unhappy.
July 23.
Yeah, they're unhappy about app tracking transparency. It's a little muddy what they're looking into, but they don't like the way that ads are distributed, or ad data is distributed.
Yeah.
And again, I always get down to, okay, then why aren't we talking about everybody? Why aren't we talking about all the players?
Well,
they all do this.
But wasn't one of the things? This is what I don't understand. Why is France chasing after this when France is part of the European Union?
I'm with you, and that's kind of where I'm at. Either, I mean, to me, if this was in the U.S., we would say, yeah, this is double jeopardy. You can't do this at both levels.
Right.
You have to pick where you're going to do it, and you can't double up on this, and that seems to be
you
what
can't
happens.
double dip on that, because then France is going to get benefits of what's going on with the European Union suits, and then they've got their own
and on top of that, the whole thing. I think they're able to theoretically fine up to like 10% of the revenue. And it's like, it's not just the revenue from the ads, it's the revenue from everything that the company makes.
Right.
That's not appropriate, kids. Sorry, got news for you.
Yeah. I agree.
So I have a whole problem with their process, right? So here we go. So I don't know, but that's where we are apparently. So.
Well,
so they're apparently, and so if this comes down, Apple could be hit with a huge fine. Is what it comes down to. They're waiting for a final ruling this spring,
so that they can go ahead and appeal it. But
yeah, pretty much
wasn't part of what got them out of trouble with the European Union with this. They required all apps to indicate exactly what data would be collected, what data would be used for tracking purposes, and then they gave you a nice nifty dialog box that allows you to opt out of tracking.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand.
Why doesn't that all those three things? Why don't those three things sort of?
Well, they might. What I'm not clear about on this though is whether or not this is more of a past thing. In other words, they may have corrected it since, but we're going to have a hissy fit because because you didn't do this before, and this is kind of a retroactive thing. Perhaps I'm trying to follow, but that's what I'm wondering. I don't know. It drives me crazy. The whole thing drives me crazy. It really does. So here we are again, and all I'm saying is we're here again.
And I don't understand. I find it excessively annoying and excessively irritating.
Well, again,
everybody's trying to go after Apple, and it's largely because they're a big money maker.
It's the little yappy dogs going after your heels. So come on, come at us and be done with it, kind of thing. Stop. Little thing.
Please have a one and done. Can we
Right.
please have a one and
this
done?
is getting ridiculous. I mean, you're basically costing everybody tons of money for
Well, time
what do
and
you
money,
think you're going to
and
get out of it? You're never going to get this done the way you think you are. So
that's very
Right.
true. I don't think that France or the European Union is going to see.
they're going to appeal over and over. That's what this is going to do. So,
Yep.
until it gets settled somehow, that's what's going to
Right.
happen.
Right. So this whole French antitrust thing is coming after something that's going on in Germany from a federal court there delivering over
Yeah.
whether Apple should be subject to additional controls to encourage competition in the market.
And again, why are they doing it separate from the EU? I don't understand
I don't know.
but again, it's another situation where they're doing it outside of the EU. So,
and I think that they are in fact doing that so that Apple gets hit with all these different things, all these different probes all at once, or one after the other until they finally just give up and say, "Fine, you win."
could be.
It could be, and then Tim could also go ahead and say, "You know what? We'll pull.
We're done. Yeah,
we're done."
they could.
Yep.
And I would love for them to say that, and then see what the public outcry.
Well, we've gone through this before, and with other aspects of how everybody's doing business, and
Yep.
and it looks like we've got yet another one in our lineup tonight, don't we?
Honestly, this one really just kind of floored me. It kind of made me chuckle. So apparently, U.S. intelligence is backing Apple over a demand from the United Kingdom for an encryption backdoor.
Yeah, the UK wants an encryption backdoor. By the way, encryption backdoors not a good thing, especially when the government has it.
No.
Nobody should have there shouldn't be such a thing.
And not even Apple should have a backdoor in your security. I mean, it should be. And yeah, I mean, does that mean that Apple can't recover data? Yeah, it does.
Yes, it
you're
does.
supposed to be responsible on your own. I mean, that's. That a lot of people think, well, it makes sense that Apple can retrieve my data.
No, you want security. Security is security. Security is a balancing act between accessibility and protection and privacy. Right. And it's always a balancing act. And so as soon as somebody has that back door, there's a back door, kids.
Well, yeah, and as soon as one is created, and as soon as word of one gets out there, you're going to have every illegal or bad actor rather entity just pounding on the door trying to break it down. And
thank God Tulsi Gabbard agrees with it. So
well, she does. She does apparently, because apparently she was blindsided by this whole thing. When the UK demanded this back door, and then apparently not only were she blindsided, but apparently this whole thing was done in secret. All right.
Yep.
Apple went ahead and switched off certain end-to-end encryption in the UK to help comply with this unprecedented sort of demand. All right, for spy access, if you will, to all users' encrypted data.
Well, it wasn't even that. So let's make it clear. They didn't open a backdoor for the UK.
No, they did not. But they demanded that one be open.
They basically said, well, you know what? We can't comply with you, so we're going to turn off our encryption, period.
Yeah.
That's basically what they did. They said, fine, there'll be no encryption then.
Which is not good either, but,
No, it absolutely is not. But it kind of, I got to be honest, guys, it's a big FU to the UK.
Yeah.
For them to do that. They basically said, fine, you get nothing. You get nothing.
Which, yeah.
I think the hope was that the people of the UK would come and say, hey, stop, to their own government. I don't know that they have, but I think that was probably the hope, that they would be upset at this lack of privacy and move on. But
so, yeah. So apparently, Tulsi had a special agent assigned to this to investigate this particular demand. And I'm quoting here now from the Apple Insider article that we're citing in the show notes.
Sure.
Upon initial review of the U.S. and UK bilateral Cloud Act agreement, the United Kingdom may not issue demands for data of U.S. citizens, nationals, or lawful permanent residents, i.e., U.S. persons, nor is it authorized to demand the data of persons located inside the United States. So even if their citizens are here, they can't demand that data. And then even if our citizens are there, they can't demand that data.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
I wasn't sure how the unencryption was working. Is it done on a per user basis, no matter where that person is, or it's very muddy, and it sounds like there's no
yeah,
easy way for them to comply with
no,
this. So, I mean, Tulsi's a little bit late to the game because this has already been in play for quite a while, but and
Right.
it wasn't really secret, so to speak,
right,
because they've been fighting. We've been seeing this in the news for a long time now. So,
right. So
but
William
okay,
Gallagher, the author of this particular article here on Apple Insider, is saying that having Apple switch off the encryption in the UK may have been the aim for what the government was trying to do all along. So
maybe,
now they don't have to jump through hoops when they
maybe,
want to go and subpoena and get somebody's text records, blah blah blah. They don't have to worry about encryption. It's all there,
yeah, that may be the case.
you know. But
Uh, I don't think we've heard the end of this yet, at
no,
all.
not by a long shot. Not by a
No.
long shot. This one's going to be around for a while. So
Yep.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting to see.
yeah, we're
So
going to see this for a while.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to
What
go
else
ahead
we
and I'm
got?
going to move us to our mobile Linux segment. And there's some interesting things here.
Okay.
And I want Larry to go ahead and give us
Larry?
doctor. I'm sorry, Doctor Mr. Larry McJunkin, to give us the
I
full.
feel better now.
Okay. Give us the
Right.
full spiel on this, but he did send us notice this week that he did get accepted as a beta tester for the T-Mobile Starlink beta. That's new spiffy satellite communication system
Yep.
that Timo is taking part in. So we're going to
Mhm.
have him give us the spiel and lowdown, but I did want to go ahead and just mention that just briefly. So we'll see what Larry has to say when he comes back next time, and we'll go from there. So, but also, one of the things that he said would never ever
I'm here.
happen. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. We're
Okay,
here.
I just want to make
My bad.
yeah.
Stupid. I was trying to look up the T-Mobile Starlink information, and of course I clicked on something,
no
and
worries.
it gave a video.
Nice.
Basically what it does say, it says in areas without cell service, your phone will automatically connect to Starlink satellites, bringing you coverage in places you'd never thought possible.
So way
Hey
out in the middle of
Verizon,
Wyoming and in Montana, everything's going to be fabulous.
hey Verizon, I
But
kind of
not
want
in the
this.
parking garage. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of want this Verizon. Hello, you know.
Yeah, don't get mugged in the parking garage because your satellite ain't going to work.
No.
Right.
Right, but one of the things that Larry said would never really ever happen was that, one password was this
Yeah.
inviolable thing, and apparently some hackers have
Ah,
stolen
yes.
an engineer's one password vault. So, and this from a good friend of ours, Mr. Ed Bott. So there you go, Chris. What the heck is going on?
Well, I mean, again, you kind of summed it up. There was an engineer working for the Disney Corporation, and he downloaded an AI tool, what he thought was an AI tool, had been running it for quite a while, and then realized that this stupid thing had basically put a bunch of malware on his device and was collecting his info and
Oopsies.
whatnot, including it got his 1Password vault. So I guess it's
Oopsies.
not, again, I realize we all can make mistakes no matter how good our tools are, but this
Yeah.
thing definitely is not inviolate.
Oh no,
So
nothing is, right?
nothing is right. So they got
Nothing
into
is.
his stuff, and they got session cookies and other digital files on his computer. Gave him access to Disney's Slack channel, among other things. So yeah, so I guess the hackers got in. I guess Disney got it. The engineer reported it to Disney. Disney cybersecurity folks got involved right away, filed police reports, changed all his passwords, all the things you're supposed to do, right? To try to recover from this. And the hackers themselves retaliated and packed up more than a terabyte of material from Disney's internal Slack channels. 44 million messages got posted online by these hackers. So
private customer information, passport
numbers, theme park information, revenue numbers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They just really shredded, all because they got a hold of this guy's one password stuff and could go from there. This is the problem. Again, I've said this before. I like the idea of password managers and caches, but there's two big problems with them. One is, if you forget something, recovering is really hard. And two, if you get the keys, you got the keys to the kingdom. You're done.
Right.
If you get that master, you're done.
Right. Now, apparently, Disney went ahead and launched an internal investigation. Yeah. They confiscated the laptop and did a forensic examination. And it reportedly showed that the engineer had accessed pornographic material on his work laptop in violation of company policy. So they terminated him. The problem with this, of course, is that, he denies the whole thing, but, which makes you kind of wonder, are they making that up just because they got embarrassed? Did he really do something like that?
Or did the hackers do it once they got control of his stuff?
Right.
You don't know what they did. You don't know what was going on.
There's enough, at least initially, in terms of reasonable doubt, that he should probably file a wrongful termination lawsuit and see if he can get his job back. If he
now, the other thing that's important to point out, and the story here points it out, is that even though they got into his 1Password store and 1Password servers were not touched at all in this.
Correct.
And 1Password itself did not have any kind of breach of its services.
There's no breach from the vendor. And
I think that's an important point to make clear, that 1Password says everything's fine from their perspective. It's just this guy and his stuff. So So there you go, kids.
Right. So which never. Right. Which basically tells you somebody is always watching. All right, whether it's your company or whether it's a bad actor, somebody is always watching, trying to get what they're not entitled to, or just trying to make certain that you're not getting what you're not entitled to, which is happy ending during the work hour. So,
there you go.
Or at least on the work equipment. But yeah. So
it's their device, kids. You cannot be playing games with your company's devices. You just can't.
Right. And even then, if it's bring your own BYOD, bring your own device, thou shalt not. Period. Not a good thing to do, because
definitely not a good look.
No.
For anybody.
And it's problematic at best. So
gosh.
Anyway,
here we go. But
anyway,
that isn't the end of this week's woes, is it?
So the other thing that kind of happened this week that was not always, well, at least I don't know if it's this week, but
it's like this quarter.
Right. It's been going on for a while. NVIDIA has finally confirmed that it's investigating this whole RTX 50 series black screen of death and black screen troubles and blue screens of death. And Chris,
they basically completely botched this launch from the looks of
it. I always kept thinking these are the 5000 series, but they refer to them as the RTX 50 series devices. These are the 5070, 5080, 5090 that replace last year's
40 series, right?
40s, right? So there've been quite frankly, there's been a litany of complaints since these were released, starting with overheating in the 5090s, heating problems and those things. There have been problems with bugs all along. There's complaints that the 5070 is only a tiny bit faster than the series that it replaces, things like that. Well, now we've had this series of problems with black screens and glitches and apparently it spreads. It looks like it's actually occurring in most of the lineup, lesser so probably in the 5070s, but it's still happening all over the place. And NVIDIA is claiming that it might be a video driver issue. It might be a what do they call it when their video BIOS that they have on whatever on their device and their cards.
Firmware.
Yeah, they're still basically working on what's going on.
And a legitimate risk of melting 16-pin power connectors. Power connectors.
That was another part. That was part of the overheating problem. I mean, there's just been problem after problem with this new series. And quite frankly, I mean, they don't have a timeline for fixing this stuff. They really just don't have that yet, near as we can tell.
Right. It's supposed to come. The staff doesn't necessarily know if it's going to come in the form of a driver update,
right,
or if it's going to come in a vBIOS update. So an update to the actual card's firmware.
And honestly, with this melting connector thing, that we had heard about and whatnot, that could be a physical problem. That could be a manufacturer problem. You don't know at
absolutely.
This point. There's all kinds of possible outcomes for this thing, but I think this whole lineup, there's been such pressure from people who need these for AI, from people who want these for just better gaming, because anybody who's trying to drive Microsoft's Flight Simulator 2025, the new one, knows you need one of these kinds of cards. You can't drive it with the older generation of cards. It just isn't any good on it. So everybody is clamoring for these things. Supply and demand has been crazy on these things, and I think they rushed them. I really honestly feel like they rushed them. And they're not. They were not ready for prime time, and here we are. And this is big. This is a mess. This is a real big mess for people, and gamers are really all up in arms about these things. And so I don't know. They got to fix this, and there's no timeline to fix this. So,
well, yeah. So let's just put this into a little bit of context. All right.
Yeah, please.
The RX 5090. has an MSRP of $19.99.
Yeah, and it's by the way selling for higher than that.
It's a $2,000 add-in card,
but it's selling for even more than that in most cases because there's such a demand.
Well, all right. So doing a quick search for RTX 5090 price, all right, brings up not only the retail of $19.99, but it also shows a number of different eBay prices, and they are going anywhere from from $4,000 to $7,500.
Exactly.
Which is, I'm sorry, $8,500. It is absolutely nuts.
And let me add that the 5090, which is supposed to be the top end, is apparently not generating as many ROP units as it's supposed to. So it's not running as well as it's supposed to. It's not even going at the speeds it's supposed to go at. So this has just been a litany of problems.
And if you and to put it into context, gold approximately melts, becomes molten, completely liquefied. All right, at upwards of 2,000 to 2,500 degrees, depending on the purity of the metal. Right. The more pure the metal, the lower the melting point. But I mean, you're probably looking at what? Is it 24 karat gold? So you're going to be some cases where the contact pins are melting, which are at least a gold alloy or gold plated. You're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of around 2,000 degrees in your computer, in that one socket. It's going to catch the house on fire.
Yeah, there's all kinds of gotchas with this whole thing.
God.
Clearly rushed to market in some ways, clearly not thought through very well, not tested very well. Whatever they did or didn't do here, it's not been a good rollout for them. Not at all. I'm going to be curious to see what their competitors come back with because they're gonna look a lot better if they even reliably deliver half the performance. I would think.
Right.
I don't know. You know.
Right. It's frightening. Again, looking at um, some of these prices,
Yeah.
it's absolutely bananas. Now,
And let's
AliExpress has got, um, think about this, all right, and do not go to AliExpress for this, all right,
please.
all right, please don't, all right. They retail for 19.99, so $2,000. You've got anywhere from 4,000 to $8,500 for
Yeah.
prices for the 5090 on eBay. AliExpress has got it for as low as $481.60 with free shipping. All
Two
right.
thousand
And
dollars for the 5080.
Yeah.
and let's keep up the notion that here's the thing that's interesting. Despite all these problems, and they've been pretty well publicized all over the
Yeah.
place that these problems have existed,
Yeah.
people are still paying these dollars for these cards.
Yeah.
I totally am floored that anybody wouldn't wait. I mean, I would think they would want to wait.
I would
Uh,
look
I
when things are
would.
getting hot enough to melt the pins on the card, you're going to ruin your motherboard.
yeah,
Your
potentially, yeah,
computer is going to catch on fire. It's possible that the house will catch on fire. Wait, wait. All right. Go with a different kind of adapter. Go with an earlier, like a 40 series, right? The RTX
yeah,
4090 or 4080 or whatever it was, right? Do something like that as opposed to the 50 series because you're gonna end up wishing that you hadn't. All
yeah.
right. You're gonna
Craziness.
you're gonna wish that you hadn't, and that's
So
frightening.
here we go.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So anyway, now we're gonna go ahead and take the. We'll be right after. Hmm,
Mm,
we'll be
that
right back
too.
after this brief message. Hi, hi. This is Christopher Spera from iTechGear.org. I wanted to talk with you today about becoming a contributing donor to the site. iTechGear.org has been around for almost 15 years. In fact, our anniversary is just around the corner on January 10th, 2025. 15 years. Where has the time gone? I mean, I've never really asked for any kind of donations for the site. It's always been about me providing value to you, a site visitor or podcast listener. The iTech Gear Weekly is now in its fourth year of production, and Chris G, Joel, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin and I are having a really great time providing you with some of the best free tech talk available from time-tested original internet writers, testers, site founders, and professional writers and editors on the internet. I truly believe that our crew has some of the best and most qualified pundits and commentators on the internet today. And we're not hobbled by any kind of sponsorship or affiliated relationship or other time bought posts. It all comes from the heart. Unfortunately, times are kind of tough. And since the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 to 2023, yes, almost 3 full years, times have become increasingly difficult for small independent sites like iTechGear.org to stay afloat. I normally do this with a portion of the salary I make from the day job, but with the IT market so tight right now, it's really difficult sometimes for many to make normal household ends meet, let alone fund a site like iTechGear that might decide to bring in a buck or two. It ain't easy. If you find any of our content on iTechGear or from ITGW to be of any value at all, I would seriously appreciate you donating as little as just $1 to the cause. While we do have a Patreon site, it's hard to keep one website up, let alone two, And since it's really only me doing the work, our Patreon site hasn't really helped us at all. If you can make a donation to the site or to the show of any amount, I'd be forever grateful. All donations will go to site maintenance, hosting, podcast hosting, and everything iTechGear related. Donations can be made to my PayPal account at chris@itechgear.org. Make a donation. We'll thank you immediately on the next ITGW episode and voice our gratitude. I want to thank you. We appreciate your consideration, time, and attention. Now let's get back to the latest iTechGear Weekly episode. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly episode number 123. We're just a real quick kind of drive-by. And I want to go ahead now and bring us into our Windows segment. All right, kids, this is something that I think everybody's going to like. It's the Mistake-a-thon. And here they are. Oh,
yeah. So here we are back in the Mistake-a-thon. It's my favorite
back in
part.
The Mistake-a-thon. We can go ahead and hit the big wheel, and everything should be absolutely fabulous at this point. There we go. All righty. So at this point, these are some really beautiful things this week. So,
oh yeah,
you can now, as part of Copilot, ask Copilot for a script to activate Windows, and it will actually bring up steps on how to activate a pirated copy of Windows. This from the actual Microsoft Copilot product.
Yeah.
And that's a loser this week. So interestingly enough, Windows Central, my friends over has published an article just today that if you go and bring up Microsoft Copilot and you ask it for a script to activate a Windows 11, it brings up, like I said, a how-to guide on actually how to activate a pirated copy of Windows. And I would think the last thing that you would want to have happen is for the company that made the software that you're pirating actually gives you the instructions on how to pirate it at best. So, I mean, honest to goodness, this is really just kind of...
Yeah, what are they thinking here? You didn't check. I mean, I guess you still have to get the parameters of the query correct and all that kind of thing.
Do.
But assuming you do, and assuming you know how to do it, I suspect it must be easy or relatively easy. You just try it a couple of different ways you can probably get there. What's interesting, apparently, it will bring up the prompt warning you that you're bringing up an unauthorized copy, but it'll still let you do it.
Yes, it will, which is really weird if you ask me.
Crap.
So, and I think the worst thing is that this is coming directly from Microsoft Copilot.
Yeah.
Their own product. Anyway.
And there's some conversations about this, and again, the way that they're activating it is really not a new method for activating it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been out there for a while, in a wild. It's been there since 2022, something like that. But the reality is, it's really kind of lame for Microsoft's tool to be presenting you with this information and how to do this.
Yes.
Now we can talk about whether Microsoft or Google or anybody running these AI things should be filtering or not filtering, but whether they should be or not, you would think they would want to filter their own pirating, if nothing else. You think they'd want to.
Right.
So there you go. You can get there, kids. As of today, anyway. This may change tomorrow, but
right. What's really kind of sad about this is that,
and we should point out, you should not do this, please.
No,
you should not do this. We strongly say don't.
And the author of this article did some due diligence here, Sean Endicott. So kudos to him. Did actually do some due diligence and contacted a counterpart over at Laptop Magazine, Rael Hornby, and said, "Hey, can you do when you do this with Copilot, do you get the same results?" And Rael was able to come back and confirm that, yeah, he gets it too. So,
oops,
yeah. So, unfortunately, this is presented by Microsoft's own tool, which is bad. All right, and you ask, well, what are the legal ramifications of all of this? And they do a decent job in this article of basically spelling out the risk.
It's not legal, kids. Let's point that out now. But let's also point out that if you did something like this and let it give you this unauthorized copy, there is a risk that you're going to get a copy that's, let's just say malwared or something, you know. So I wouldn't do it no matter what anyway, because I think the risk far outweighs the idea. But the point we're trying to make is that how again, in the Microsoft Mistake-a-thon, this is just another mistake. Their own tool allowing you to install a pirated, unauthorized copy of Windows. So this is just completely ridiculous.
It is absolutely nuts. So and then OpenAI has released a product called Deep Research.
Yeah, we're not even done with the Mistake-a-thon, are we?
No,
the Mistake-a-thon
we're
continues,
not,
doesn't it? Here we go.
OpenAI has released a product called Deep Research, right?
Right.
And it's released that to just about everybody, and then Microsoft has released Think Deeper. All right. That effectively does the exact same thing because it does use OpenAI's ChatGPT to do this. But the Microsoft version removed all of the limits that OpenAI had put on this particular kind of thing. So it's another real big winner,
Right. Oh, the Deep Research was expanded to those paying OpenAI $20 a month or more, but don't do that because you can get Copilot
to do the
same thing in Copilot for free. It's like Copilot's not necessarily free for. I mean, it comes with Microsoft 365. So if you subscribe to that, you get it. But you get so much more with just Microsoft 365. You get the storage, you get the apps, So I mean,
right, and you also get what they call Think Deeper, which is the same thing, the deep research kind of feature, but with no OpenAI restrictions.
Yep.
So that kind of makes you wonder, since they're so deep into OpenAI, are they or are they not sort of shooting themselves in the foot with this?
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah. And this last one.
Are we done with the Mistake-a-thon yet? Are we?
But wait, there's more.
Wait. I kind of knew it. Okay, what else we got?
Yeah. The last one, Microsoft is
bad
quietly
idea.
testing
Microsoft
ad-supported versions of Office apps with limited features. As an example, you're only going to be able to save things to OneDrive, right?
Gotcha.
Right. It'll let you create and edit documents, and it only lets you save to OneDrive. But I mean, honestly,
way to screw up your product, man. I mean,
I mean, it's bad enough that.
Not even Google does that with their stuff. It's like,
I got to tell you, this really strongly reminds me of that that scene from the movie where the bad guy says, "Yes, we've decided that we can fill up to 85% of your screen before we induce seizures."
That would be Ready Player One.
Yeah, and I'm starting to feel like, what is Microsoft? Are they this same company now? Because this nonsense that we're going to throw an ad everywhere is starting to get on my nerves.
Well, here's the thing. Microsoft has stated, PC World reached out, and Microsoft came back with a statement that effectively says that that this free version of Office is just a test. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Microsoft has been conducting some limited testing. Currently, there are no plans to launch a free ad-supported version of Microsoft Office desktop apps. And thank God for that, at least right now. However, I would not put it past them to do something like this. They've been quietly slipping ads directly into Windows 11 and Windows 10. Why would they leave Office out of that? Why would they stop?
We've said this before, and I'll say it again. This is the kind of crap that drives me off of a platform.
Yes.
Drives me off of a set of tools.
Yes.
I don't want you to be doing this kind of crap. I do not want to be annoyed with this crap. Not in my OS, not in my poor apps like this. I paid for the things. I pay my subscriptions.
Yep.
Leave me the heck alone.
Please.
So, I paid for my OS. I paid for this. Stop it. Just stop it. So, I don't know. I don't know. This whole pushing you to services model is really just starting to get on my nerves.
Yeah. And it's really easy at this point that if you wanted to get off the service, it's really easy and it's really cheap to find a standalone version of Office with a discounted, which means a legal copy of Microsoft Office. So you could go to like some sort of a third-party site and get the full-blown Office with publisher and access and the whole schmear for like 30, 40 to $50.
A lot of those are taken from other people's unused volume licenses.
Yes.
I would not be surprised if that starts to get shut down as an option, because that's always been kind of a gray area anyway. I get, that we've done it and everybody's been doing it for years. I get that, but I would not be surprised to see that change. But having said that, again, we complain about this and it's very, very annoying. Apple doesn't do this to us to this extent. You see things in their store, ads shoved in, but that's about the only place you see them. We're starting, but even Google, who is ad driven, almost entirely ad driven in their revenue stream, doesn't do this.
Right.
In their OSs. They don't do this.
Well, they don't do this. They don't do this directly in the app, right?
True. That's my point. This is all indirect. I mean, but they don't do this at the OS level the way Microsoft does.
No.
And this is what I mean. It's like, come on, really? Do you really think this is a good idea, alienating people? I really, again, to me, this is part of the Mistake-a-thon, kids, because I don't think they understand how they're pissing people off. Because they really are.
Right. So I don't understand this. It bothers me a lot. And if you go back over the last series of shows, I mean, we've got a Mistake-a-thon, if you will, a Mistake-a-thon type story. All right. In every episode over the last 4 to 6 weeks. So you really have to start asking yourself, who the hell over there is making these decisions? All right. And
they're clearly not doing any market research first, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Who the hell is making these decisions or pushing these things up for somebody to approve them? And number one, and number two, why are they still employed over at Microsoft? This is stupidity.
And you know what? We have another story that really this that we're coming up on that is almost part of this
almost
nonsense.
Part of this.
On one way. Well, on either end of it, depending on which end of it you take, it can be considered it. So
right. So to go ahead and intro that story, Microsoft is finally killing off Skype after 14 years of neglect. Now, Microsoft bought Skype about 14 years ago. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's, what?
And either you could,
right.
And so you could argue either that killing it is a mistake because people are still on like it and are still on it, or you could argue that spending 14 years doing nothing with it is the mistake, and you should have killed it a long time ago. Well, you could argue it
Well,
either way.
and they could ask people, but largely they're probably going to hear this.
Yep.
Yeah. Crickets.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What I don't understand.
'cause when was the last time anybody on this show right now actually used Skype?
But the people that I know that use Skype tend to be people that had it for family connectivity years ago and just never got rid of it.
Right.
And they're still on it. Some of those people are still on it many years later because they don't know anything else.
Right. My dearly departed aunt and uncle from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Used to use that exclusively. I would get at least 1 or 2 calls a month from my uncle, right? Who was wheelchair bound, and he was way into tech stuff and would tinker and whatnot. He knew just enough to get himself into some serious trouble, and often did, which is hence the calls. You know? But no, so the long and the short of it here, Microsoft is finally killing it after they purchased it 14 years ago and did absolutely nothing with it. They were supposed to, they had bought the property as something to base Teams or their own product on.
Well,
and then
Link back in the day.
They were going to cannibalize that.
Parts of Link back in the day, when they wanted to add voice to Link,
right?
They thought they were going to leverage the Skype components for that.
Right.
And they kind of did, but kind of didn't. Yeah.
Right. And it was a thing. Been kind of sitting out there collecting dust and annoying a lot of people. And what they're telling people now is, okay, there's a warning that's going to display in the app now that the service will be going away on May 5th. All right, and that existing users should migrate to Teams,
which might be even worse choice than not using anything at all.
Well, the problem that I have with Teams is that they're using the same backbone, the same effectively. I don't want to say platform, all right, because it implies some other things that aren't currently going on here. But they're going to be using Teams for personal use, and then you've got Teams for corporate use, and it shares much of the same code.
Well, let me tell you too, you cannot be, one of the challenges I've run into with Teams is that you can't have both your personal and your corporate running at the same time. So if you need both communications, you got to be on 2 different PCs to do it, basically.
Or you've got to kill one and then start
Or you've got to kill one and start the other. And
right.
That is one of the challenges as a partner agency that does a lot of support for things. Mm-hmm. I have to switch because people's teams don't share with each other well, that I have to switch from one client to another client to another client. And it's a really big nuisance. Their switching mechanism, there is no mechanism. You basically quit and relog in as a different user. There's no support for a lot of things that you think ought to be there. So when you had Skype, you could at least sort of run it separately in the background if you had to, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, for what it was worth. And I would prefer to use other tools because of this, but Teams is going to be a challenge. I mean, getting people onto Teams is definitely going to be a challenge for folks because there's a lot of overhead there that people don't want. So there you go.
Absolutely. So a little bit of context. Skype first launched in 2003 as a voice over IP messaging platform. Microsoft bought it 8 years later in 2011 for $8.5 billion and had attempted to integrate it across multiple products and product lines, including Windows Phone, and even Xbox. All right. Yeah. They've updated the software and redesigned it a number of times in the 10 or so
last
years.
10 years or so, yeah.
Since, including splitting the app to integrate the service into Windows 10 Mobile's phone and messaging apps to position it as a viable iMessage competitor.
I will say they did that in kind of a half-assed way.
And that's where I'm getting at. They have never really. It was half-assed really because they didn't really do anything, and they didn't. They didn't. Sort of hey, we'll try this, and then we'll listen for the voice of the customer, and we'll whatever. And that was great. And so everybody kind of gave it the E.F. Hutton kind of I'm listening sort of thing, right? but the problem with that is they may have heard the voice of the customer, but they never did anything about it. They never followed through with
it. It didn't really integrate, at all. It was there.
Not very well at all.
Integrate. No,
not very well at all.
Not like iMessage integrates into Apple. It didn't integrate and that kind of level at all. So yeah, it was never going to happen on that platform. Unfortunately, It was, which by the way, we'll say once again, was a great platform. We loved it.
Well, and again, they did use Skype as the backbone for Teams, right?
They did.
Right.
In some ways, yeah.
Well, it's stating a fact here in the article that Microsoft
it's building on some of the VoIP services of it. Yes,
right.
Yes, they did leverage some of that.
For its popular Teams service for enterprise customer, but the experience between Teams and Skype apps are very different. And interestingly, Microsoft is going to be pushing everybody from Skype into Teams.
Yeah, Teams is a thicker client, and people are not going to like that. It's a heavier, thicker, bulkier client,
right? And the fact that you cannot run both the personal and corporate versions at the same time, cannot easily switch back and forth in between the two.
No. That's a challenge.
Just makes this a huge mess.
It is. We'll see what happens, but I think it's. They even went as far as to give it access to Copilot, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But they didn't really. Again, they half did it. It wasn't as complete a thought as it should have been. It was kind of a throw on, a throwaway. Right. And here we are.
And here we are. Honest to goodness.
Again.
I don't like ripping on Microsoft. I really don't. I mean,
you and I have talked to an extent. We actually like a lot about what Microsoft did over the years, but it seems for the last number of years, for the good things that they offer us, they always seem to somehow throw some crap into it that we don't like. Every stinking time they seem to do that.
Well, it's what's really, really weird about this thing. I mean, it brings on either a come on man moment or a what the hell, I mean, you're depending on how deeply you're invested in whatever it is that they're changing, tweaking, or doing. You're either going to think that it's stupid or you're going to absolutely hate it. I do not understand why they've made half of the decisions that they've made. When Satya first got into the C-suite as CEO, he did a bang-up job, and everybody was very relieved. Had a clearer vision than Ballmer. Immediately started doing a better job than Ballmer. I mean, it was just fabulous. Not Ballmer. All right.
Yeah.
Now you got to wonder, is he even at the wheel? All right. Honest to goodness, you got to wonder, is he even steering the ship, or has he delegated that to somewhere else? And if so, what the hell is he doing? Because I don't know.
I gotta agree. I don't know what's going on over there, because again, for every good thing they give us, they always seem to include a bad thing. It never seems to just be the good thing.
Right.
I don't know what the thinking is.
I don't understand.
Do they think people will put up with this because they want the good thing? And I think the answer is going to be no. In the long run, they won't. They might in the short run, but they won't in the long run.
Right.
It's they seem to forget who their audience is. It's not always. I mean, there's a lot of corporate influence, obviously. And their big thing now isn't as much of selling Office and Windows and stuff. We're not even selling server operating systems anymore. It's selling cloud services. That's what they want. People to hook into Azure, to hook into Microsoft, and they don't care if this other stuff impacts their bottom line, which ultimately it probably will. I mean, because let's face it. It's never been easier to switch from Office to something else today.
Absolutely true. And I don't care who's tweeting about switching.
OpenOffice. You can download, what's the other Office? LibreOffice, yes. Yeah. You can use Google Docs. You can use...
you can use Apple's suite.
Whatever Apple is.
Pretty good. Yeah, you can use their iSuite. It worked. They all work pretty well now.
All of them can read Word files. All of them can read Excel files. All of them can deal with it, unless you're doing some pretty fancy dancy pivot table bullshit.
You're not going to have a problem making the switch.
I agree. No. I agree. They have not left themselves in a good situation.
No,
this is not the time to be playing the games they're playing. I guess is what I'm getting at. They don't have them. They don't have the lock that they used to have. So this is not the time to be playing these games. But
you got more people interested in switching on, especially with the advent of Apple Silicon. Apple Silicon. Let's face this. I buy a MacBook, it's going to run quieter than this machine I'm using right now. It's going to run cooler than this machine right now. Sure. It's going to use less power than this machine does right now. And I don't have to use Office on it.
And worst case, Joe, if you had to run Windows, you still could. So, but it's unnecessary. But you still could if you needed to in a pinch on some special app. So why would I live on your platform anymore?
I can download a completely free platform.
Yes, let's not even forget that.
In Linux, right? In Linux.
Yeah, Linux, Manjaro Linux is a fantastic Linux, and it's basically Arch Linux that's made usable for normies. That's what I run on my I have another laptop I use every Wednesday night for the Linux Link Tech Show, and it runs Manjaro Linux with KDE's desktop. So, and I can do everything I could do on this one for the most part. I can even play video on streaming services like Netflix with no problems. I can do that on a Raspberry Pi in a much cheaper and a much cooler form factor. Microsoft is not doing anything to help that.
And they're not helping themselves.
They're not doing
either.
themselves any favors.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Again, they used to have some very interesting things and some interesting, unique things. It's not that anymore. It's
not even close.
They're not where they need to be.
When they when they should have rested on their laurels back when they brought out Windows 8 and not rocked the boat, they chose to rock the boat, and people were already starting to leave them then.
Yeah, and it's we thought they studied the course for a little while there, but
with
sorry.
Windows 10 and even Windows 11.
Windows 7. Windows 7.
Windows 7.
Not Windows 7. But the later releases after 8, they kind of stabilize things. 10 was the big thing.
8.1 was marginally better, and then 10.
But here we came out with 11.
Back to their old school way. Yeah, 11 is
11's garbage. It just is. It is. I'm sorry. Let me tell you why I say that. Because
all right.
Yeah, you could argue that certain things have been improved, but the underpinnings, Windows File Explorer is terrible. It's horribly inefficient compared to its predecessor.
The file system, yes.
Yeah, it's. I mean, but no, the apps, the apps that drive the system, your file manager kind of apps, your Explorer apps, they're terrible. The backup app doesn't back up to anything other than OneDrive. I mean, this is garbage that you're handing us. So it's not what it was. It's not what it used to be. We had a better backup tool in the old days. We had better file management in the old days.
Yeah.
None of this is what it should be for a product that should be evolving. It's almost like, okay, you gave me a prettier interface, but otherwise you're devolving, and that's not what we want. You've given me a less efficient app, less efficient series of apps, and you're driving me to services I don't want.
Right.
What are we not under? And again, I understand, Joel, you kind of said it perfectly earlier. We as the end consumer, consuming products like Windows, consuming products like Office, we're not really where they're trying to drive their business right now. Yeah. They're more worried about cloud, Azure, selling people, those kind of services. But I think what they forgot, and this is the thing you can't forget, is that you get there by getting people in the door, and you get people in the door by keeping them into your OSs and keeping them into your apps. This is what brings them into the showroom, right? I mean, Apple screwed up by letting go of the education market. and it hurt them in the long run. And so they've been slowly trying to make inroads back using things like iPads and whatnot. It haven't really come back the way they used to be, but they used to be the way that people drove education. Now they're not. Now people are getting a little annoyed with the Google platforms, but they're not necessarily going back to Apple either. So I think what we're seeing is Microsoft needs to learn that lesson before they completely screw it up. Don't drive people away from the thing that brings them into your ecosystem in the first place.
Don't drive angry. Don't
drive angry.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. They got to stop driving people away from the thing that brings people into the ecosystem.
Right.
That's the part of it that they're forgetting.
Sure. And on that very well stated final note, I'm going to move us to our tip of the week segment.
Yay.
All you right. Are.
I are.
You are. Okay.
Yes. So again, I want to remind everyone that iTechGear was founded on the intent of making technology easier for everyone to use and understand. And this team has dedicated their writing careers to that purpose. And every week, the iTechGear Weekly will feature a new computing tip authored by one of our experienced editors. And questions, requests, suggestions, etc., can be sent to tips@itechgear.org. If you send us a note and we use it, we'll give you the 15 seconds worth of fame so that our listener knows who you are. So there you go.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yep. And speaking of default apps, like we're sort of talking about here, right? Did you know that in Android there's an easy way to actually change your default apps to the ones that you would like to use specifically? Maybe you want to use a different browser other than Chrome. Maybe you want to go ahead and use a different SMS app as your default app. Maybe you want to say WhatsApp is the one that you want to use and you communicate with all your friends with instead of having to use the default text app. You want to use WhatsApp or whatever else instead. And so the way that you do this is it's actually pretty easy. You open up settings on your Android phone and you select apps and then default apps. All right. And then select an app to change: browser, digital assistant, home app, etc. Pick that one and just pick the default app, tap it, select the app that you would like to change to, and then save it and get out, and you reboot the phone, and you should be absolutely positively set. So, and that's it. Pretty easy peasy. Pretty easy peasy. So not too bad.
Yep.
All right. So given that one's that easy, guess what we're going to do? We're going to jump down into our pick of the week segment.
Oh, good for us.
Okay. And again, I want to take a moment to let our listener know that our show.
Hi, Bob.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom. No, not my mom.
Exactly.
Not my mom.
Well,
She's gone.
My mom. So let our listener know that our show picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and actually used, and that we like enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These are not paid advertisements or items that we have any kind of an affiliated marketing relationship with. These are just sincerely things that we believe in, and we bring them to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because we like you.
There you go.
We're not synchronous, though. But anywho,
Joel, you've got the pick. What you got?
I do. I have got one that has a very Wish-like title. It says, compatible with Garmin, rugged woven nylon sport band with G-Hook watch band, Phoenix Forerunner, Vivo Active Approach, MarQ, Quadix D2 series tether replacement band for men. Woo. Okay.
So that's a mouthful for a freaking band.
Yeah. It's a watch band for my Garmin. In fact, I've got it on now. This is kind of my frustrating thing with most, especially any of the fitness trackers. I would say even including the Apple Watch or Pixel Watch or even the Fitbit. is that they come with a silicone wristband. Now, some people that doesn't react. People, they're fine with that. They can use the rubber band. Works fine. I'm not one of those people. Okay. I still have the default band. I didn't throw it out, obviously. But if I wear that band, what typically happens is I either get not as much with the Garmin one, but I get some sort of reaction underneath where the watch is. So I usually switch to either a metal band, which I did already do, and it was a previous pick of the week. I had a metal band, kind of like a Milanese loop for the Apple Watch, but it works with the Garmin. But that one has a little issue in the adjustment. Is one of those metal band clamp style things. And what I've discovered is over time of me wearing it, that clamp will grow. The clamp doesn't pop open, but it gradually kind of moves up until the watch starts to get loose.
Yeah.
So I picked this one. This was very similar to the Apple, and I think Samsung has one similar to this with the loops where you put the little hook into it. Says the minimum wrist is 6.3 inches. The maximum wrist is 9.3. I got the blue one. Unfortunately, just because it's blue, but the back part of it is black. So you can kind of see the blue, like in this angle there. But then what I end up seeing is the black. So, I don't care too much of what it really looks like too much. I probably could have just gone with the black one and been fine and wouldn't have made a difference.
Gotcha.
But other than that little quirk, I do like it. I actually just got it today. And the nice thing is if my wrist size changes, like if I'm in the middle of an activity or something, I can just reach down, undo the hook, and tighten it and put it back in. And I can do that almost when I'm moving. So unlike the other one where I have to go get a pocket knife or a screwdriver to flip up the clamp. So and not to mention the fact it was only $20.99. And I believe they probably the same company, Torbolo is there. They have a store based on off that, and you can probably get bands for other devices as well, including leather bands by the looks of it.
Very nice.
And
let me offer
that same company makes one for the Apple Watch and the Galaxy and the Garmin's. So.
I mean, it looks really nice, but let me tell you, I do have an adjustable band cloth for my Apple Watch.
Right.
And I have a tendency to keep thinking it's not snug enough, and I pull it just a little tighter because it's so easy to do. Right. Be careful, kids, because I've made bruises on my arm by pulling it too tight for too long. So maybe it's just me, guys, but I love these kinds of things. I love these adjustments. It looks great.
Right, and this one also
be careful.
There also could be a potential pitfall in that the hook will only go in each of those little.
Oh, you're stuck. It's notched.
So if you're between those size wise, it might be loose on you. This one is perfectly tight right now. It's exactly how I like it. It's nice. Yeah. It's snug enough that the heart rate monitor is going to work just fine. But
for $21, I mean, how can you go wrong?
No, and I like it. Now we'll see if it holds up. It's not stretchy. So it doesn't stretch. It's completely relying on hitting.
And they do offer in different sizes too, don't they? It looks like they offer in different sizes.
They do. I got the 26 millimeter one because that's what I need for the Phoenix 7X is my watch. The 8X is out now, and they're also and Garmin's just hitting it out of the park. If you are at all into long big mile hikes like I am. And stuff like that. Don't even look at the Apple Watch Ultra. As far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of people really like it, but I can guarantee if I went with a similar watch, like an upgraded Pixel watch, I wouldn't be able to. I would have to take my charger along with me on the mammoth marches because it won't last, especially when I'm tracking. It will not last. My Garmin had plenty of power left after the event, so. it's nice that I can get these bands, and these bands just use the exact same system that the original Garmin provided band uses. So it just snaps right on. It's easy to get on, easy to get off. It's not like the old school, like whenever I had a Casio or some other band and I needed to replace the band, you had those little spring-loaded clips that would go shooting off when you were trying to take it off. It's nothing like that. It's the same thing goes with really any of the smartwatches like the Apple or the Pixel Watch as well, and they make bands for those as well that fit their systems. So and you don't have to spend what Apple wants for a replacement band if you don't want to, because Apple's going to charge you twice the amount. So and they do probably have a version for the Apple Watch as well. I didn't
not of the nylon bands apparently, only of their leather bands. Okay. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, they do look nice nonetheless.
They do have nice looking leather bands too, which absolutely I don't even think Apple has one that looks like that. So
not like that, no.
But and my big thing with the leather bands is they generally will wear out quicker, and they usually start to smell.
Yeah. You see them. Yeah, I get you.
I guess with this, I probably could snap it off and like put it in the sink and wash it out with some Woolite or something, and it would probably freshen it up some. So, but I can't beat it. Could not beat it for 21 bucks. I might even go buy a bag. And that's the nice thing too is with any of these smartwatches, you can buy separate bands and change them up. Like say if you're wearing different color clothes, or you want a nice band to wear with your Apple Watch when you go out to a nice dinner, you can swap that out and still wear your Apple Watch. That's it, unless you like to wear a really nice chronograph or something. But replacing bands, you don't have to pay what Apple or Google wants for, or even Garmin.
No, you don't.
Replacement bands,
or Samsung or any of those. Really,
they're every bit as good as the bands that came with it, as far as I'm concerned. In fact, they're even better in this case because it's not the rubber band, the rubber or silicone rubber band that will react with my skin. This doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So
I can't wear those either. I'm with you.
Yeah. So I just wait. And Apple, Garmin, Google, give us an option when we buy the watch. That would be nice. But at least it doesn't cost that much extra if you want to replace it. So that's a good thing. So anyway, I wish it had a better name, but there it is. Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's cool. And thank you, Joel. And that, kids, is the show. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 123. We're just a real quick kind of drive-by. Recorded live Monday, March 3rd, 2025, live from iTechGear Central for Mr. Chris Gavula, Brother Joe McLaughlin, and our missing Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. I want to say, hey, we will see you next time.